Troglodytes, welcome back to another edition of Trogly's Guitars. These 73-74 SGs are kind of sentimental to me because they were kind of like the first vintage Gibson player's guitar that I ever had. Long story here, but I think most of you guys enjoy my stories here. I was in college, community college, while I was still in high school and whatnot. And there was a guy in, I think it was a physics class or something. This is when I had owned a 2550, and I was talking about it to another guitar guy in that class. And then this guy's like, "Oh yeah, I got this old SG. I'll have to bring it in and show you sometime." So he brought it in. I mean, it was similar to this. His, I think it was a little later. It was a 74. It looked pretty well exactly like this, except for it wasn't quite as cherry. And basically, I took it for him. I cleaned it up, put new strings on, and I just fell in love with this thing. Because my 2550 anniversary Les Paul was a good guitar, but these things are magical players. They are just fantastic. They have a really unique neck profile to them. They got a very classy look. They've got the ebony fretboard, tarback pickups, just a very nice aged look. So that physics class was a nighttime class, and I had this guitar with me all day at college, and I was just playing. I fell in love with the thing, and when I came to buy it, things just didn't work out. He didn't play the guitar or anything. It just kind of sat in a closet. I thought I gave him a pretty okay offer. And then I just started throwing everything in my wallet at him. It's like, well, I've got a Walmart gift card and some Subway gift cards. But unfortunately, we didn't make a deal. So that was kind of a guitar that got away from me. But, long story short, these 73-74 Gibson SGs are fantastic. At the price point, they're the best players you can get for an SG. They feel completely different to modern day SGs. Modern day SGs to me feel a little weak. They're a little airy sounding. But these things, they're so solid. Everything feels right about the early 70s SG when they kind of transformed from... There was a top-mounted kind of like pickguard-like thing, and they routed it out from the top instead of the back. Those ones are okay. I'm not quite as much as a fan of those. Those are from like the very early 70s. I think until about 72. So I think it's late 72, 73 that they kind of switched over to this style. And this is perfect. Obviously 60s SGs are also cool, but they're a little bit, too out of there for the price point. So under $2,000, you can usually pick one of these up for, usually decently below that. I think the value for the money on these quickly deteriorates after about $1,600. Because once you pay $2,000 for one of these, they're great guitars, but I don't think they're quite worth that much. But, they do sell for sometimes upwards of $2,000. But enough rambling and ranting. I just love these things. Let's take a look here. All right. It's been a while since I've had an early 70s SG. I believe that Truss Rod cover is original. I might be wrong on that. But as you can see, beautiful aged lacquer over the crown inlay. Got a few little chips in the lacquer on the S and the O there. And there's scratches all over this thing from string changes and whatnot. Truss Rod functions perfectly. It's awesome. It's not super loose, but you don't have to go just to get the thing to move. You just go whoop. So I didn't have to adjust it or anything. The frets and fretboard were pretty dirty when I got it. I cleaned them up, oiled it, made them look good. You do have some fret wear here. I would maybe suggest, within the next year or so, getting them leveled and crowned. I don't know, maybe even refretting them. These are a little taller than the fretless wonders that they get called sometimes, and like the late 70s frets. I would almost prefer them to be just a tiny little bit taller. Bends aren't impossible, but for extreme comfort, I would like them to be a little taller. But thankfully, the frets up here aren't quite as worn. And I mean, it is a playable guitar, definitely. But the neck profile on these, you can kind of see it. They're very small but rounded at the first fret. I mean, you can see it's not very wide. Now, as you watch my fingers go up, you can see how the fretboard starts getting wider up here. And that's just, for some reason, really comfortable. It's great for playing chords, and then once you're doing your leads, you kind of want a little bit more kind of down here. So I just love the neck profile of these, I guess you can call them early to mid 70s SG standards. Something to always look on these 70s SGs is underneath the pick guard, because it's a very common modification to, you can see these little switches here, to put the switches underneath the pick guard. Like they'll route it out there and put it on there and put a lead down to like in this cavity area. I found that on quite a few of these SGs, and most people, they don't take the time to take the pick guard off. They go, oh, it looks original, but no, I've taken it off. And something else I love about taking that pick guard off is you can see just how cherry this guitar used to be. This one is a cherry one. It has faded quite a bit. You can look at the photos. And this is just kind of oil residue. I was cleaning it with a light lemon oil. But you've got some dings, but no cracks, breaks, or repairs on this one. We've got a slight finish touch-up we got to go over. And, I mean, it's all stock, except for the nut and these toggle switches, which these baffle me. Why did they put those in there? These are tone cuts. It pretty much does the exact same thing as rolling your tone off. I guess if you're going for like the woman tone, I think he does something like that to get there. But other than that, just don't touch these things, and it's basically like a stock SG standard. They're there. I think the modification is worthless, but I'm sure there's certain circumstances when you might want that. I wish they were like volume kills, like mini kill switches, which I'm sure you could rewire it to do that if you wanted to, but let's keep looking here. I mean, obviously this is a well-worn guitar. You got some sweet finish checking there that I couldn't even see until I cleaned the guitar a little bit. And I mean, just your average player's wear that you would expect from a guitar. That's what, it's probably what, 45 years old or so. The tailpiece here, I'm not 100% sure if that one's original. It's a lightweight tailpiece. I'm not sure if they were still doing those at this time. So that's the only other part I'm not 100% original on. Harmonica bridge, it's a 70s attribute. I like them. They have lots of places for intonation adjustments. And it almost looks like the saddles might have been replaced on that, because they kind of look graphite-like instead of silver. So very cool piece. I mean, you can remove it, but I would say stick with it, because that is an attribute of a 70s SG. They're beautiful. All right. Now the back of the guitar is where the finish kind of gets interesting. See the serial number, made in USA. What is that? 132555. Yes. And we've got some dings here on the corner. Early 73, you can kind of get the Gibson ones that are kind of more Grover styled with the screw down here. Now this one is kind of the transitional one where they got the Schallers. And they used these all the way until, I think, about 82, 83. So these are very early examples of that. Very cool. And your neck has some light wear here, kind of where the finish has kind of been stripped off a little bit. But very smooth in feel. Got some dings there. Now something to go over is right here. And you can see that the finish is kind of cherry red there. And the whole neck used to be cherry red. It just faded in the sun. You can kind of see it on the headstock how certain areas are more red than others, because the sun will fade this. So if you hate the cherryness of it, just leave it in the sun you know, a couple of days, it'll disappear, and then you'll have the walnut finish, which is what most of these look like. Now, if you love the cherry finish, sorry, you can't quite get that back. But up here, my best guess is, because under black light it does glow differently, so that means it was a finished touch-up. But I'm not seeing any breaks, cracks, or repairs in this area. Let's see if we can get it to focus a little better here. What I'm guessing is when they redid the nut, it's very common for the nut to like strip the finish off a little bit. So I'm guessing they just kind of touched it up in that area with red, because that's what this guitar's neck would have originally been, you know, back in the 70s. And maybe they had some players wear here, because that's a very common place for finish to wear off. So they just kind of reshot that area. And once again, I mean, you can see we're not hiding anything here. There's no neck crack or anything. I mean, I guess it could be possible maybe the fretboard was lifting a little bit and they glued that down, but honestly, I don't think so. But that is there. It was probably once perfectly hidden, but now it's not so well hidden because it's no longer cherry there. Before I forget, I know I'm rambling a lot in this video, but this corner is starting to lift a very slight bit. It's very hard to tell until you get it in the light. When I was working on it, I noticed it. You see how it's slightly lifted? But I mean, it's not gonna come off anytime soon. But I just want to make sure that's clear. All right, so we've got most of the guitar down. The back of the body here, I mean, it doesn't show up in photos as well as it does in person. I guess here's a good way to see it. You see how the, I guess that's the treble side of the body is a lot more red than the bass side over here. And you've got lots of wear and tear. I mean, this is what 70s SG should look like, because they are fantastic players. In here, it's all stock besides those, I guess I don't want to say all stock. It might have been rewired. But it does have the original 73 date code pots. So I think if I remember correctly, it's like the 23rd week of 73. So that makes this one a 73, anywhere from like a 73 to a very early 75. And I say that because of the transitional tuners there. Input jack, you know, no breaks, cracks, or repairs there. I mean, there are a ton of these 70s SGs out there with headstock repairs, with asking prices of $1,600. And sometimes they get it. It blows my mind. But you'll definitely be able to pick this one up for a good price. I love these things. And I've actually got 2 more of these coming, which I'm super stoked about. Unfortunately, I won't get to play them because they're lefties. But hey, that's a lot of fun. So look forward to those videos. Unfortunately, no original case on this one. It's an aftermarket case. It's just your standard cheapy aftermarket case. I mean, I think these are, what, 50, 60 bucks new. They're not absolute garbage, but they're not, you know, something to write home about either. I mean, they house the guitar. They keep it from touching the back of the headstock on the case, but they don't fit the guitar 100% well. So as you can see, if you're carrying this around, the guitar is gonna move. Not a lot, but some. But I'm gonna give you extra padding, so you'll have bubble wrap here. And in my experience, the bubble wrap that I used does not affect nitro finishes, so you're fine there. And I'll also give you a bunch of bubble wrap here that kind of acts as a double neck rest, which will lift it up a little bit. So the case will work great if you just add a little extra padding to it. I mean, as is, I'm sure a lot of people use them, but I don't know. I'd just be too worried because the darn thing moves. All right, troglodytes. This has been a long episode, but hopefully you enjoyed the stories behind it. If you think you might want to be the next owner of this beautiful 1973-74 SG, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/troglys, TROGOYS. You can also check out the reverb listing. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can see all the guitars I have for sale. We'll catch you next time, Draw Bites. Bye.